daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Newcastle podcast. Proud to be part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. My name is Michael Grahamslaw, and I was due to be joined by a guest this evening, but unfortunately they've been unable to make it. We were going to get the perspective from the Wolves camp ahead of the game this weekend, but I guess being bottom of the league and the worst team in the league at the moment can probably put you off talking about football. Instead, we're going to go through and I'm going to do a little bit of a preview. I'll mention sort of speak about Iain Wisser and Nick Vultimao, whether they can replace the goals from Alexander Isak. Speak a little bit on what I see for the future of William Osula. And then we'll go into our thoughts on what the next 7 games might hold for Newcastle United. For those that are wondering, 7, that's a bit of a weird number. We have exactly 7 games until the international break starts again. Tomorrow, you'll be able to get a match preview from the rest of the team. Kev and Ian will be on that. But I want to talk about our start of the season so far. 2 draws, 1 defeat, 2 decent performances, 1 poor performance. But with that in mind, I don't know about anyone else, but I've been extremely content with how we've started the season so far. Against Aston Villa, we were sitting there at the end of the game thinking, if only we had a striker that could put the ball in the back of the net, or even, a winger that's capable of doing it up front. It was a little unfortunate. We should have put Aston Villa to bed, but a 0-0 draw at Villa Park at the end of the season will look like a very good point. At the moment, it doesn't. But when Aston Villa start to kick into gear, it will look like a very good point. So, very happy with that, although I wasn't at the time. And then we have the Liverpool game. Obviously, it was a bit of a kick in the private parts, wasn't it? But we were very, very proud of the performance. Because to go 10 men, 2-0 down, to bring it back against any opposition is brilliant. But to do it against the Premier League champions, it was an absolutely fantastic performance for the lads. And then the worrying part was Leeds for me. After the Leeds game, you are sitting there thinking, we're in trouble, because the man of the match in this game was Sean Longstaff. And when you consider the names that we had on the pitch, it really shouldn't have been Sean Longstaff. But yeah, Leeds was a little bit of a worry. But then we've had a pretty hectic deadline day in between them, where Alexander Isak has gone, Wissa and Nick Vultimade are in. I don't know about anyone else. In fact, I'll ask this question to our listeners. Are you confident that those 2 players can cover the goals lost by the Swedish international? They can certainly cover the goals lost by Callum Wilson. He's already scored more for West Ham this season than he did for Newcastle last season. And the same amount as William Osula has for Newcastle. So, as long as Vultimao gets 1 between now and the end of the season, he's matched the total of those 2. But I think overall, looking at it, the signings of Wissa and Vultimao will be absolutely fantastic, because it's just very exciting when you think about it. You watch Iain Wisser, and his instincts are undeniable. As a striker, you can score 10, 15 goals a season by just being in the right position for a tap-in. And as for Nick Vultimade, well, he does look raw, it has to be said. He was excellent at the Under-21s tournament in the summer, but he was 22, 23, so he does have a few years on some of the players there. I'm fully aware that some of the other players there would have been 23 as well. But I think the bit that stands out for me was Stuttgart won the DFB Pokal last year. Vultimao was the top goal scorer in the competition, and it wasn't a case of, he probably scored 4 of the 5 goals against, Division 3 opposition. He scored in 5 different matches. It was 1 goal in 5 different matches. So from what I've seen, it looks like he's one of those players that has more of an impact on the game than he does putting the ball in the back of the net. And to be honest, from what I've seen, I think he does look decent. I think the issue for Newcastle is we've got to try and hope that translates to the Premier League. But the thing with Vultimao that was the shining light of the international break for me was how much he can do in creating space for other players. Against Northern Ireland, we saw it. We didn't really see it too much against Slovakia or Slovenia. I can't remember which one it was off the top of my head. I always get those two mixed up for some reason, and I sound really stupid because of it. But yeah, it's one of those where we didn't see too much in the first game, but the second game, he's creating quite a lot of space. And with Northern Ireland being a team that, do tend to sit back, he was able to create the space for other players to work their magic. Now, unfortunately, the magic was kind of first getting to Hogwarts than Harry Potter final year Expelliarmus, but it was decent in the end, although they did look a little bit better when he came off. So, but I don't think we can judge him based on those fixtures for Germany. But I think the exciting thing for me is that Wisser and Vultimao can play together. We've said at Newcastle, one of the worst things for us at the moment is we don't have a number 10. Vultimao can play in that number 10 or as a striker. Now, how many times have we gone into games and gone, we don't really have anyone to come on for Alexander Isak. It's just Callum Wilson, who will run around for 5 minutes and then probably end up doing his shoulder, or William Osula, who I call him. Yeah, Callum Wilson, I called him. I thought I called him William Wilson there for some reason. That would have been mental. But yeah, William Osula, who sort of runs around a bit like a headless chicken. And that enthusiasm is absolutely fantastic at times. But there are also moments where you're like, you've just gave away a few too many pointless fouls here for my liking. But overall, I am very confident that Wisser and Vultimao can play together. Vultimao with a slightly deeper role, Wisser getting in behind, and because of the movement that Vultimao can actually, utilize for a 6'6" player, he can create spaces, come deep. He can pretty much do anything. I think I was reading a stat the other day where I think he was one of the only players in the top 5 leagues who had more than 2 shots, 2 key passes, 2 successful dribbles, and a few other stats per game. And it's one of those where you're thinking, a well-rounded player at 6'6". We haven't seen anything like this since Peter Crouch. So who knows? I don't think it'll be as easy on the eye of, big man, little man, as Crouch and Defoe. But I do think Vultimao and Wisser, when they do end up playing together, when maybe we're drawing a game or behind in a game, it could be absolutely beautiful stuff to view. But for now, I'm going to go into our first advert of the episode. Then I'll speak a little bit more about a creative midfielder, or maybe how our midfield looks, and maybe the future of William Osula. And then go into sort of how we can look at our next 7 games. But for now, it's Bioniq.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right level to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Brilliant stuff. Now, I don't know what other people think, but I think it sounds so much better with the music. The annoying thing is that it's been created by our friends at GSPN, and I say friends loosely because of which club it is, at Liverpool. Louis Easton and the team created sort of these 2 adverts, and they do sound a lot better than just standard reading them. So credit to them. But yeah, let us know what you think, if you do just prefer us reading them maybe, or the actual just advert without any music. Just let us know and we'll cater to that in the future. For now, I do want to talk about the situation in midfield. One of the things I've seen online, not continuously, but quite consistently, is that a lack of a number 10. And I know I've just mentioned Nick Vultimade as that potential number 10. And a lack of a creative midfielder is something that we've really struggled with now, or that we should have brought in. Now, I admit against the low block, I do agree. I think we saw against Leeds that is a real problem. But against Leeds, I think if we had a proper striker up front, and this isn't a slant on Osula, I do think there's a raw talent in there, but the one thing he is lacking is those strikers' instincts that if you watch any compilation, because you can't watch a full 90 minutes of him online, if you watch any compilation of Johan Wisser, you'll notice there's so many tap-ins where even if the ball is deflected into a certain area, he's made the move to that area. Now, of course, on a compilation, you're not going to see all the times where he's made the move into the wrong area. But I do think it's one of those where we're going to see really strikers' instinct, the difference between the two. And I'm aware we had Alexander Isak, who has those instincts as well. But I think we've got a happy medium between, Osula and Isak. And although Wisser isn't going to be winning any, potentially any Ballon d'Ors anytime soon, I do think he's a striker that can get 15, 20 goals for Newcastle based off those instincts. But the number 10 role, creating those efforts for Wisser, I don't actually think is needed against the low block as against Leeds. I think we put in enough half-decent crosses where a number 9, a proper number 9, would be on the end of them. The one that comes into mind was when Jacob Ramsey crossed the ball in, and Osula had to take a touch rather than hitting it first time, and it ended up getting blocked. If that goes in the back of the net, we're sitting there going, the composure to take a touch is absolutely fantastic. But realistically, we know he should have hit it first time, and I think a proper striker does. But there were also a few other moments with crosses where either Vultimao or Wisser would have been able to get on the end of it a lot better. And then I also think when you look at it with Jacob Ramsey instead of Joe Linton at times against lesser opposition, I think the creativity of Ramsey, Bruno and Tonali should be enough to unlock the door there at times. They'll still create a lot of chances. And Gordon and Elanga, we haven't seen those two on the wings for Newcastle yet. And I am so excited to see that. I know we're not going to here. I think, is it Arsenal or Bournemouth? I think it's Arsenal that'll be the first time we actually get to see it. It might be Bournemouth, depending on where the Bradford game lies. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think we play Bradford. Yeah, so we've had Leeds. That's the first game he's been suspended. Wolves will be the second, and Bournemouth will be the third. The first time we'll see it might actually be Barcelona at home, which would be a treat. It'd be an absolutely fantastic way to kick off things against Barcelona. And then, so they'll be back for Bradford. I don't think they'll play, let's be honest. And then the first Premier League game we'll see Gordon back is Arsenal at home, where obviously he does like playing Arsenal. He's got quite a few goals against them. So maybe, just maybe, we'll see best of Anthony Gordon and he can end that goalless run then. But yeah, our wingers, I think they'll do more than enough with Gordon and Elanga alongside each other. Gilbert run alongside the new strikers, and we'll see a more direct, clinical look at Newcastle United attack. And then the last thing for me on the squad at the moment, William Osula. I want to know what our listeners think. What is next for him at Newcastle United? Because obviously there was the loan move to either Frankfurt or Aston Villa on deadline day. Bayer Leverkusen were apparently interested as well. Those three teams on loan, I think it would have been a perfect move for him. And personally, I think we were not foolish for not sending him out, because I can see why we haven't done it. But I do think for his development, it is what's needed. He's third choice striker now. So even if Newcastle do play 2 games every week, it's unlikely he gets more than 1,000 minutes in all competitions for me, because you're probably going to be playing Nick Vultimao against Bradford. Let's be honest. If he hasn't scored in the first 3 games, you're playing him against Bradford to try and get that confidence up. And even then, you need him to start games. So if Wisser does start Wolves, Barcelona, and Bournemouth, you've really got no choice but to start the 69 million pound man against the likes of Bradford, and try and get that confidence up. But yeah, it's a difficult one because I genuinely think he could be a really strong right winger in 2-3 years' time. I think he'll end up being the player that replaces Jacob Murphy when Jacob Murphy does go on to leave the club, which will be a horrible time because Murphs is a fantastic player in his own right, but he is, again, getting a little old for Premier League football. And unless you're a freak of nature like Cristiano Ronaldo, then, you're not going to last beyond 32, 33. So with that, that's what I think. I think it'll be one of those where Murphy ends up going in 2-3 years, but realistically, William Osula has all the makings to do that. And we've got a brilliant last bit of treat as we go into part 3, as I go into the Zencastr advert, where I have been joined by my good friend, Iain Mackay. How's it going, Iain?
Michael. I wish I could tell you I was drinking and I'd fallen asleep for that reason, or I was doing something exciting, something illegal, but I haven't. And what I'm doing, I'm sitting waiting for 7:30 to tick around, getting so bored watching. What I was watching the Two Tone documentary actually, but I fell asleep in it, and I've only just woken up. I was hoping you're hanging on for me. I guess I missed the first part. Never mind. Play the advert.
Well,
We'll do a part. We'll do an extended part 3.
okay, well, as I mentioned, the adverts today are brought to us by the team at Liverpool and Louis Easton.
Here
Go.
at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out as the clear winner, with 4K video recording from your phone, AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the description to learn more about Zencastr.
It's better that we're not talking it. That does sound different, doesn't it? And Louis got quite a nice voice.
He does
I want to
indeed,
get.
yeah.
I don't mean in a gay way. I just mean it's quite a pleasant voice.
Yeah, it's a voice for radio, isn't it? Or maybe a podcast.
And voice for a podcast, indeed. Yes, I do. Mind you, I'm looking forward to seeing how I join this podcast when we look at it back, Michael. I think that's probably my most dramatic entry for a long time.
Yes, it very much will be. I'll admit, I was talking about William Osula, and I saw a guest entered the room, and I was like, oh, he's come at the perfect time. And I was like, do I go to Zencastr now, or do I and just have you pop up right at the start of the third part, or do we go into it in the second part? But yeah, thank you very much for joining me, mate. It is much appreciated. I'll be honest. I called out the guy from Wolves for not turning up at the start. I hadn't mentioned you at all, so the viewers would have been a little bit confused just seeing you pop up.
Well,
but excellent stuff.
it's a bonus, isn't it? We should have done 7 o'clock, not 7:30. I was awake then. I am sorry, Michael. I am honestly. That's because I work so hard. I know people won't believe that, but honestly, it is.
I believe you, mate, and that is all that matters. So, in the third part, we're gonna look ahead to the next chapter of Newcastle's season. Eventually, going to do an in-depth preview of every game. As you know, we've got the Wolves one tomorrow, and I want to gauge expectations of what we can come to expect from that upcoming period. 7 games in that time, so I want to get your thoughts on results for the 7 games. We can gauge expectations. I'll let you speak through them. Because they've heard my voice for the best part of 20 minutes now.
Okay.
But I will say a game, and then I want you to say whether we'll win, lose, or draw. I'll give mine, and then we'll give the reasons afterwards. How's that sound?
Okay. Sounds
Okay.
good.
So to start off, Wolves at home.
Comfortable home win. I'm
Barcelona
hoping.
at home.
That is going to be such a fantastic night. It's so sad that I'm one of the 120,000 people who queued up for a ticket and didn't get one. But to be fair, I had to watch PSG at home and I really enjoyed that last time as well.
Nah.
Do you know what? I am going to hope we catch Barcelona cold at the start of their Champions League campaign because they do sometimes give something up in those
Started
first
slow
few
last year.
games. So, yeah, I think it's another PSG night. Maybe another 3-2 with a
Ooh.
hat trick. Who knows? I think we'll win. I
Oh.
think we'll beat Barcelona.
Wow, big statement. To be fair, just before we go into the next one, did you see where I was in the queue for the Barcelona tickets?
Yeah, well,
Uh,
miles ahead of where Joanne was, and she got the tickets. But I think you were being too choosy for your tickets, and you ended up missing out altogether, didn't you?
No, so it wasn't the fact I was being choosy. I had 4 sets of tickets in because I said to my wife, "We'll go together." So I picked 2, and then was just like, "Right, I'll put them in the basket. I'll go to pay." And 4 times it came back saying these seats are no longer available. And then when I got back in the 5th time, I was like, "Right, I'm just going to buy one and tell her I couldn't get them." I'll say I'm going out with the lads or something. But then every single time it just kept coming off. And then I don't know if it's because I refreshed too many times, but it was saying there was no seats in level 7, but there was pitch side. I was like, I can see this is glitching here. So I had a right horror show, but yeah, hopefully it's another PSG night, and hopefully the lads fare better for Barcelona than I did.
Can I just say, I mean, I have hunted for tickets being returned ever since, and the story's broken today about the tickets that were sent off to the school in Dundee
Dundee.
being brought back and going
Yeah.
back on sale. Well, from nowhere, there's 18 of the um, corporate tickets, the entertainment, what are called the hospitality tickets at
Uh-huh.
£1,069 are available again.
Wow.
So how on earth could they have been the tickets that went to the school? Because they
Yeah,
said
that's
they
a
put
bit
them back
sad.
on sale. It's ridiculous. But yeah, anyway, they're back and gone very quickly.
Yeah, it does. To be honest, it does make sense that it's hospitality that was selling the tickets. Because to be honest, I can't think of it as a Newcastle season ticket holder, which I'm not, obviously. But if I was, I wouldn't be selling that for any game. Like, even if, and I know people can say, well, you weren't a season ticket holder when Steve Bruce was here. Well, I did used to be, not anymore. Um, we all know the reasons why people weren't. But it's one of those where, like, if I was a season ticket holder now, I'd be keeping on to it. It's like gold. It's
I
only
would
going to get
too.
more and more valuable. But yeah, game number 3 so far, we've got 2 wins. A win against Wolves at home and Barcelona at home. Bournemouth away. How do you think we'll fare there?
Bit of a bogey team for us, Bournemouth, aren't they? They hammered us at home
They
last
are
year, and to be fair, they hammered us and should have beaten us at their place, but they had a very good goal in the last minute disallowed for no good reason.
dodgy handball.
I'd be very pleased if we get a draw, Bournemouth.
Yeah, agreed. And then we've got Bradford at home. Should be a win, yeah.
I've got a ticket. I've got a ticket. I'm going to be there. Yeah, I'm hoping it'll be a ticket. I'm imagining that we'll see the second string, but even then, I
Potentially,
think
yeah.
52,000 in the second string should be too much for Bradford at home.
100%. To be honest, I was going to say, I did say earlier in the pod, I think it'll be a game where Nick Vultimade starts. So we might be one of those where you see the first real performance from him because I think he'll start on the bench. But if he doesn't come on and do anything in the first 3 games, that Bradford game's got the potential to be a massive confidence booster, doesn't it?
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Might be the first game that Joe Linton comes back for as well.
Potentially, yeah.
I'm not sure he'll get risked against Wolves, and if we do well against Wolves, Eddie's not one for mixing it up, is he? So
Depends on
maybe we'll
Jacob
get Joe
Ramsey as
Linton back.
well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then after Bradford at home, we have the Gunners, Arsenal at St James's Park. How do you think that's going to go?
Well, do we not beat them all of the time these days?
They,
They're
they,
a,
they got one
they're a,
overall in May, but other than that, yeah.
I think they're a stronger team this year than they were last year, but then so are we. So, whoa, what? Well, no, I'm going to go to beat Arsenal again. We've beaten them the last 2 years, and we've deserved to. and that's before the 2 wins in the League Cup as well. And we're at
Yeah.
home, so I think we'll beat them 1-0.
1-0 is a great shout. That's what it's been the last 2 years, isn't it? Isak got it last year. Was it Gordon the year before? The goal they all cried about for over 200
Uh,
days consecutively.
the winner last year was a thing of beauty. Cross on the run from Gordon, headed in by Isak. Fabulous goal.
We'll see the same from Wissa Woltemade this year, no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
But our next game, potentially a big game if we lose to Barcelona. Union Saint-Gilloise away.
Yeah, well, I know we're going to do an in-depth prediction for all of the Champions League games soon, which I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
And this is a fellow pot 4 team, and it's the game away from the away game. I think that we'll pick 3 points up in our Champions League campaign. I think
Good
we'll beat
stuff.
them.
They've
They
got a
sound like
very
a happy
small...
clap, I don't know.
You do. But to be honest, if we pick up that even near this amount of points, I'll be a very happy man. And I will say, if anyone isn't familiar with Union Saint-Gilloise, look them up. The progress of the last 10 years. The stadium's quite funny as well, being a small little stadium. It's going to be one of those that getting the Magpies in there is going to be a big problem. I did see the tickets got released to season ticket holders today, and it said there was 52,000 available away from home. And I'm thinking, so they're going, it's clearly a glitch, but could you imagine 52,000 Newcastle fans fitting in that stadium? The place would explode.
I'm
But
not sure you get. I'm not sure you get 52,000 in, even if you let them all go and stand on the pitch. But there you go.
exactly, mate, exactly. And then the last one is maybe the most unpredictable. Nottingham Forest at home.
Nottingham Forest at St James's or at
Yes,
Nottingham Forest. Yeah.
that's St James's. Yeah,
Oh, that was. We were at that one last year as well, and that was a very strange game because we didn't start well, went behind, and then 4 goals in about 15 minutes to go in winning 4-1 at half time.
yeah.
Wondering what sort of cricket score we're going to end up with. Nottingham Forest were superb in the second half, and they nearly got back for a draw. We won 4-3. Um, Gibbs White and Elliot Anderson will still be in there, won't they?
Yeah,
No, I think again though that's a narrow home win. I think
yeah.
tough game,
I do
but
agree.
narrow
I
home
think,
win, 2-1.
yeah, I think again for us against Nuno Espirito Santo's Nottingham Forest, it was always a barn burner of a game. Brilliant games every time, but with Ange Postecoglou at the helm, I mean, he's already said in a press conference, and I'm aware it was a joke, that he might have to win a trophy this year to stay for a second. It was a joke, but I genuinely think he might have also meant it a little bit as well. Seeing Newcastle and Crystal Palace pick up trophies domestically last year. But yeah, Big Ange at the helm at Nottingham Forest. What do you make of that? Because it's been a bit of a mess over there, hasn't it?
I like him. I do like him, but
Yeah.
and I know that Tottenham did get crippled certainly in the first part of the season with injuries last year, which set the tone for their league performance. But they were so wide open all of the time, weren't they? Because of the way he played his super high line. Um, if they do that, if his teams do that, we'll kill them because we've got all the pace and the long, accurate long balls over the top, super fat. Yeah, I don't think he can do that. I think he's
Yeah,
going to have to
absolutely not.
rein in his philosophy, which probably worked when he was manager of Celtic because he had the best players, but
Yeah.
it exposed Tottenham time and time and time again.
100%. I think with Tottenham's best back four, they looked okay, but as soon as they got one injury, it all fell apart. And you're looking at that Nottingham Forest back line, and you're thinking, that's really not a very quick back line to be playing on the halfway line. And let's be honest, with Anthony Elanga and Anthony Gordon, even Johan Wisser as well, you're just asking for balls to go over the top there. But the strangest thing was sort of how the Nuno Espirito Santo sacking actually came about, because he was saying before the end of the transfer window that he wasn't happy, and the relationship with the owner had deteriorated, and you're looking back and thinking, is that what happened on the pitch? And you're sitting there and thinking, compare that to Eddie Howe and our owners, where I've got no doubt there have been some probably quite heated arguments in the back room at Newcastle United, because not a lot got done before the latter stages, where chairman actually had to come out to Newcastle and get the job done. But to have it play out on the pitch instead of in the back room, it's
he's a passionate guy, isn't he? And they got dismissed as being he's a passionate guy. And Nuno kind of said he's a passionate guy. And it was a bad result, wasn't it? Which meant that they suddenly, having been top four all season, they were putting a run together which was going to drop them away from top four and maybe even top five. I think they ended up finishing seventh. Can't have been good. But obviously that's festered over the summer.
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't want to sell Alanga, and Alanga got sold, but I think they brought some good replacements in. I don't think they've weakened their team at all, and they hung on to Murillo and Milenkovic, who were kingpins defence. I don't think there could have been any argument from Nuno that he wasn't getting supported. I think it's just that day the cracks have set in there, and this guy is obviously difficult to get on with if you get on his wrong side, and that's been proved. But I think Postecoglou is correct. I think the swap's happened because he's taken a look at Postecoglou's record and thought, well, you do win trophies, mate. Come and win us a Europa League. I think that's what the target is.
That's it. I think, if anything, if I'm a Nottingham Forest fan, I'm not, so maybe I'm wrong, but I think they actually would have maybe preferred to have gone into the Conference League because they've got a more chance of winning it. I think we were saying at the start of at the end of the season, we'd be really disappointed if we missed out on the Champions League. But in the end, if we made your Conference League, there's a very big chance you win it because your biggest opposition's Fiorentina.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest opposition in the Europa League is Villa, personally.
Yes,
and they haven't started particularly well. But yeah, it's all very, very exciting. I don't think his team's any weaker. Just have to see if Postecoglou can dilute his all-out attacking philosophy to the extent that, as you say, that defence is allowed to defend. It's no good. I mean, we saw just last night in the game against Serbia, Milenkovic was sent off in the end because fast players running at him with the ball behind him is something he's not comfortable with. And in the end, he made a late tackle and got sent off, didn't he?
Yeah, 100%. If you can't handle it against Harry Kane, I'm looking forward to seeing how you do against Johan Wisser. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got the 7 games there. I think we had the only one we didn't win in your eyes was Bournemouth away.
Oh, God. But I do think, Barcelona. I do think if you I don't like making excuses. I think, Anthony Gordon playing centre forward, I've heard him say in interviews a couple of times that he sees himself playing more centrally as he gets older.
Yeah, it's
he fancies himself. He does. He would not agree with you if you said that he'd been played as a makeshift centre forward. Yeah. That said, we didn't score against Villa. We didn't score against Leeds. Not that was Gordon's fault, but the way we played against Villa, the way we played against Liverpool, if you take that form into these home games and you put a cutting edge on us, there's going to be goals. We're going to score.
Yeah.
We're going to score goals. And what we have been doing very well in these first 3 games is defending very well.
Yeah,
so
100%.
It might sound a bit like I'm just talking my dream results, but I do think this run of games coming up gives us an opportunity to correct our position in the league, if I can put it that. Because I think 4th bottom is a false position for us.
I'd completely agree. Yeah, it is one of those where the Villa result at the end of the season will look like a great result. Now it doesn't, because obviously they haven't started well. But 0-0 at Villa Park, getting a result at Villa Park, I think before they played us, well, I can't remember what their last result was, but they were unbeaten in 20-odd games at Villa Park.
I can remember. I can remember that it was 9 straight wins at Villa Park
Yeah.
end of
And
last
then
season.
Palace absolutely smashed them, to be fair. So that has ended that, but it's going to be one of those, Newcastle and Palace as your first 2 home games. It's not exactly easy for them either. So I think the Brentford away defeat's the one that'll hit them, but they'll bounce back. Newcastle will be up there as well towards the end of the season. But yeah, I had something quite similar to be honest. So I had us beating Wolves. I do have us losing at home to Barcelona.
Come
I
on.
think we'll lead. But I think we'll lead up until about the 75th minute. I think the atmosphere, I know War Flags have probably got something planned, and it'll be an absolutely massive night, but I think we'll crumble at the end under that pressure. And then Bournemouth, I've got us losing away. Again, and then the next 4 games, I've got us winning. So I've got us beating Bradford, Arsenal, Union Saint-Gilloise and Nottingham Forest 4 back-to-back. Bournemouth, I think, is the game I'm most sure that we're not going to win, which is insane when you think you've got, Barcelona, Arsenal, and a Nottingham Forest who are in Europe. Oh yeah, it's Bournemouth who've lost their entire backline almost that I'm most scared of.
I know. You'd think losing those 2. I mean, what have you got? One went to Madrid, and the other went to Paris Saint-Germain.
Paris
Is that right?
Saint-Germain. Yeah.
Which is a hell of an endorsement as to how good that pairing was at centre half last year.
100%.
But they've started the season really well. They've had some great results already. So,
Looks
you know,
solid.
you'd have to think we had a better chance of scoring against them with 2 different centre halves.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm hoping we're due to play well against them.
We are.
Eddie's got a terrible record against Bournemouth, hasn't he? With him being an old boy.
Yeah. You'd think some skeptics would probably think he still has them in the heart and he doesn't want to do anything against them. I'm fairly certain that's not the case, but I have seen it all over socials when we got battered off them 4-1. So I did just think I'd mention that there, but
That
it's
was just
stupid.
that was just an absolutely superb example of tactical planning by what's he called? Iriola?
Andoni Iraola. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great manager. Um, he's a very good manager. I mean, to be fair, coming back from 2-0 down and nearly beating Liverpool was a fabulous performance. 2 late
Yeah. It was
goals for them to
fantastic.
lose at Anfield. Yeah, they're still a force. They'll
Yeah.
be looking to match or better last year's position, I think.
100%. And to be fair, with Bournemouth being our next Premier League game after Wolves, it almost makes the Wolves game a must-win because I think if you've only got, let's say, 3 points after 4 games, you're all of a sudden looking at the game after that is Arsenal at home. Now, I'm aware not this time last season, but last season I sat here and said, Eddie Howe has to get results against Nottingham Forest and Arsenal because the results we've had have been really poor. We did beat Wolves in the build-up to that. But it's almost kind of feels like history could repeat itself there because Bournemouth, very hard fixture. Wolves should be beaten, but if we don't, it puts the pressure on. And I almost think we'd maybe do a little better under that pressure.
Well,
What do you think?
I know that it's hard looking at 2 points for the first 9, but I look back to the performances. I think we sat and watched all 3 games. The Leeds game was it was awful weather, windy, rainy. We kind of got dragged down to Leeds' level, if without being too disrespectful. Always a
Yeah.
hard game away at Elland Road. Leeds they haven't lost there for more than a year, so they're a good home
Oh,
team.
wow.
But I think the performances in the first 2 games were really encouraging, and just matching that in these coming up games. Yeah, I think people will be fearing us, home or away, because we're 5 or 6 players stronger in that first team squad than we were last year, and we were bloody good last year.
100%. We were. So with that, we've hit the old 40-minute mark. So I'm going to leave it on the question to our viewers: Wolves at home, Bournemouth away, Barcelona at home, Bradford at home, Arsenal at home, Union Saint-Gilloise away, and Nottingham Forest at home. How many points did Newcastle pick up? Obviously, 2 of them in the Champions League, so split them if you can. And then just let us know in the comments. Remember to subscribe if you haven't already, and just be sure to follow the pod, because we've got stuff every single day now. I know, every day.
Every day.
Mental.
Your daily soccer podcast with the Global Sports Podcast Network.